Welcome to Lazy Lima Life, my little crafty corner of the YouTubes. Today, we're going to be making paper beads. Yay! What we need for this project are slips of paper cut to about 1 inch or this one's probably about 1 1/4 inch by 11. These are just offcuts of paper that I had lying around, or the trimmings left from my paper cutter. I've also been known to pull discarded paper out of the recycling bin at work. I also use glue stick. You've heard me talk about the cocoina quite a lot. We're going to use a wooden skewer. You can also use a toothpick. I just find it a little fiddly because they're so short. So try, if you don't have a skewer, the inside of a pen. We're also going to decorate our beads by using rubber stamps. So find one with a kind of a funky pattern. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a pattern stamp. It could be leaves or something, but it should be something that repeats nicely. We're also going to use ink pads. I'm using 2 tones of brown in Tim Holtz Distress Ink. I'm using old paper as the background, and then walnut stain as the pattern of my stamp. You're going to need some sort of sealant, whether it's MODCE or perfect paper adhesive, which is what I'm going to be using. What else? Oh, we're going to use a small box to act as a drying rack. You can see here that I can just set that here and let it dry. So, I first learned to make paper beads at summer camp when I was about 10. I came down with a case of the mumps and I was stuck in the infirmary for a week before they sent me home. I was better. This was one of my counselors came to the infirmary to do a craft with me, and so she showed me how to roll these paper beads out of magazine pages. So first I'm going to glue my strips of paper together. And I don't know if you've noticed, I use old catalogs as my glue sheets. Okay, so I have my strip nice and long. And I'm going to take my skewer and I'm just going to just roll that edge till it rolls on itself. And right after I get it to roll, I'm going to use a little glue stick so rolling right along. I don't know if you can see. Around the time that you get a little bit of a roll going there, you can pull the skewer out and then use your fingers to pinch it so that the bead stays uniform. And then every few rolls, you're just gonna give it a little glue stick. This is not a craft for the people that like to keep their hands clean. You want to take your time rolling this up because it's easy to rush and have it end up, wonky or loosey-goosey. You can see that that's a pretty tight roll there. Okay, so now I'm coming across the seam of my paper, and you can see that I probably didn't wait for it to dry very long, but the seam is coming up on the second piece of paper. So I want to make sure that I fold that seam, that gets rolled correctly so that you no longer can see that seam there. And right after the seam, a little glue stick. Getting toward the end here, so I'm going to get a little heavy with the glue. Roll, roll, roll. So, okay. Because I'm going to be painting over mine or obscuring the seam, I'm just going to run my glue stick over the top. Like I said, not for those of you who don't like to get your hands dirty. And just fold that over. That seam is pretty flat. When your bead is dry, carefully slide it off the skewer if that's what you have it on. It should feel pretty solid when you pinch it, but that's pretty solid. I'm squeezing, it's not mushing. If you find that your bead is a little bit goopy from all the glue and stuff that's on your fingerprints, just take a nail file and just sand away. And this is also really good to use against the seam of the bead because it flattens that layer of paper so that it shows less. So you can see that the bead has returned to a white color. Go. Nice new bead, fresh and crisp, ready for decor. Our bead today is just our paper. Then we used 2 different colors of ink, and then we rolled over a rubber stamp. So that's how we got this cool design. I have my beads and they're dry, no squishy. And I have my Tim Holtz Distress ink in old paper. And I'm just going to use my skewer like a rolling pin and just roll that back and forth right over. I'm just giving it a little background color, and I usually just let it dry on the skewer right there. So you can see that the beads are a little mottled like old paper. Huh. Funny how that happens. Okay, so it's dry. Time for another coat. Just going to do them one at a time here. Oops. So this one here has 2 coats of the old paper ink. This one has 1 coat. Okay, so my beads are dry. And I have my walnut stain distress ink pad, and I have my pattern stamp, which is by MJ Barber, and it looks kind of like a mud cloth kind of pattern. So I think that's going to be fun. So we're going to ink that up. I'm just going to go ahead and ink up the whole stamp. Sorry. I'm going to roll toward me so I can see where when I hit the end of the pattern. So I'm just going to set that down and rolling pin it on over. And there's my pattern on my bead. Load on the second one, re-ink it so I have just the same amount of ink as I did on the first bead. Again, I'm rolling toward myself so that I can see where the design ends. And then these I'm going to let dry a long time because when I put the sealant on, I don't want it to get muddy. So my beads are dry now, and you can see they've faded a little bit, which I'm fine with. I'm going to seal them now with a little bit of glossy perfect paper adhesive. Let's just hold that. When you use the skewer to dry your beads, you might want to move them around after you've got the adhesive on there. Otherwise, they'll dry to the skewer. You know, not that I know from personal experience. It was a friend that told me that, so heed her words. When your bead is all done, make some jewelry. I just attached some different little beads here and put them on the earring holders. They're very basic. But the nice thing is when you have, this bead is like stone or magnesite or something like that. It's a fairly heavy bead. So if you wanted to have 2 beads, it would be really heavy. But because we have the paper, these are very lightweight and comfortable. And if you have somebody that can't wear any kind of like heavy bead, like even these stones, the paper is the way to go because it's very, very lightweight. It's like air. You can see some of the paper beads that I've made on my Instagram at LazyLimaLife. If you make your own beads, post with the hashtag LazyLimaLife. And I'll get to see them too. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your crafty friends. Subscribing to LazyLimaLife lets you know when a new video is posted. So go ahead and click that little red button, okay? And thank you so much for watching. Now go ahead and make some beads. And it's paper. If you don't like it, roll another one. Phrasing.